It's an interesting one because Matteo said that maybe that they can be the anti-Juve, and Nicky, you were really on board with everything that was being said about Lazio, because you've always thought that they could really pose a challenge for the Scudetto. Again, I go back to the fact that they have the best midfield in Italy. And when you have the best midfield in Italy, you have the quality that it takes to play a perfect game. And I think that this is what you saw, the difference between that. And I think this was noted a lot as well by the media in Italy. They do say sometimes some ridiculous hyperbole, but on this occasion, I think that they said it perfectly, in the sense that what you found with Inter a lot of the time is phrases, counterattacks, let's depend on Candreva, let's depend on a few crosses, let's try to bring in Lukaku, who, like Matteo said, was a little bit isolated. And what you found with Lazio was two midfielders who had Barella and Vecino on them, trying to sort of keep them in check, but couldn't, because Luis Alberto knows how to sew everything together. And then you've got Milinkovic-Savic, who gives you strength, who gives you power, who wins aerial duels, who just understands and has that chemistry required. And when you combine that with the ability of, obviously, Immobile, with Lucas Leiva, or whomever it is that in that midfield, I mean, and they were playing with Johnny, and it's not like they started off with Lazzari, for example, as well. But that was another wonderful thing that Simone Inzaghi did, was bring off pace off the bench afterwards to make sure that Inter were always terrified. Now, what I thought was so amazing about this with Lazio was when Inzaghi was actually giving his press conference afterwards, and he said, I knew that I could win this game. And he seemed so confident of that fact. And when you look at the mere facts and how much Inter have invested and how much people are looking at them, obviously with a world-class coach in Antonio Conte, to have that kind of confidence for a team that finished 8th last season. I know they're amazing this season, but it's amazing how much they have mentally matured.
Yeah, I think it's almost not surprising you'd be that confident when you've already beaten Juventus twice in December. I mean, they are winning these head-to-heads repeatedly now. And I think that's a huge testament to Inzaghi as a coach. I think this, I don't want to dwell too long on this game because it's a while ago now, but I do think it was interesting. You had two teams that lined up very similarly, actually, in 3-5-2s. And at the beginning, I think, approached the game very similarly as well, both of them sitting back in those deep blocks, because both of them fundamentally want you to open up spaces and so strike you quickly. And I think that the difference in that environment is the quality of your midfielders. It is the quality of your Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. It is Luis Alberto, and the ability to unpick things even when you're going against a slightly more packed defence. Actually, there's a lot of circumstantial stuff that happens in this game as well. Ashley Young's goal comes from a rare break, actually. Lazio hadn't given them any chance to score it. And at that point, you think, now this sets up really well for Inter, and actually they can draw Lazio on because they're going to have to attack and do something. After which Lazio get a penalty that it's soft. I think it's one of those that once it's been given, it's hard to be overturned on VAR, but another referee definitely looks at that and goes, yeah, there's not enough contact there. So it's a marginal decision.
But when you see this game, do you see Lazio possibly winning?
I think Lazio were the better team. And of course I think they can win the league. I said that all along. I thought they could win. Well, all along is definitely overstating it. You were too generous to me there, but I've said it for a while. And this is a step towards it. I think that the percentage on them winning has gone up. I think if you're asking me to go through them team by team and give you a percentage, I'm still probably putting Inter ahead of them. And I think that speaks to this bizarre situation with Inter. And I think it needs reiterating that in a league season, you don't have to beat the other big teams to win the league if you're the team that is most ruthless in dealing with the littler teams. Yeah. Inter had a little wobble on that through January, but overall this season they've been very good at dealing with the littler teams. That can be enough in a tight race.
Let's be honest, there's been some things that I just didn't understand. For example, Gazzetta went big on the fact that, that this Inter needs time and that Conte is managing the unthinkable with Inter. Listening to that, you would think, goodness gracious, they were in the relegation zone, and poor little Inter. But this time last year, they were also third. What they are doing is, in many ways, they are 8 points ahead. They've obviously scored a bunch load of more goals. But just looking at Inter, are they where they're supposed to be? Should they be? Are they overachieving? In many ways, I look at the side and I think that, I don't know if it's unthinkable because, you know, when you look at the quality, and the fact is everyone said about Lazio that they're a counter-attacking side, that they're such a vertical side. But what you also saw in that match is how well they can keep possession, how well they can pass it and rotate it with precision, accuracy and speed. And you didn't see that kind of quality in Inter, which is perhaps why they've only won one match against, you know, the top 5. And you look at that and you think, you know, going forward, obviously this is year 0 under Antonio Conte, but this is also a side which third, like last season, but last season they didn't have the kind of investments that they've had now. They do have a much better squad. How are they doing? Should they be the team that everyone is scared of, or should it really be Lazio?
Well, I mean, budget for budget, Inter should be the team challenging for the title. There's no question about that. Their budget is still a fair bit smaller than Juventus's if we want to just do it purely on. Of course. On
I mean, we
that
know
number.
Juve is losing.
There's no question in this Serie A season if you're looking for who you want to be most impressed by as a manager.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.